Well, this is your history video. This is your history video for today, for Friday, October 16th. We're going to be doing, well, it says 4 work text pages, but if you go there, page 48 is the back side of 49. You're only doing the very bottom of that. Well, it starts on page 65, so the bottom 2 sections. You're going to talk about Egyptian religion in daily life, okay? And that's part there. However, by the time that you see this video, because I'm recording it on Thursday, we might get to it on Friday and actually cover that part together. On the other part, it's study guides. And these study guides, you'll notice that a lot of times the study guides actually are used to, how would I say it? The study guides are basically repeat of the worksheets that you've done. So all you need to do is save your worksheets and go back. Now, not every question is, but a lot of the questions are. And so sometimes you have to look things up. But most of the time, you can just use your worksheets to actually fill out those answers. And so that's what I would suggest you do. But there is one important part, and that's on page 51. So if you look on page 51, the very bottom there, all right, the compare and contrast Egyptian, what does it say? Egyptian polytheism with biblical truth, and include at least 3 differences. Now, it says compare and contrast. Basically, if it says you're just including the differences, then you're going to be just contrasting, not actually comparing. But at the same time, this will be the one that's going to be on your test next week. And so you want to make sure that you know this information. This essay is going to be your primary essay. You've been writing a lot of essays, and I told you you're going to be doing a lot of writing this year. So be ready for that. Now, this section you may have heard if you listened to my video yesterday. Hopefully you did. Or the one that's for today, actually Thursday. But you have here, because I accidentally turned the extra page, and this is where we read. But we'll go ahead and through this. And religion is what we're going to be talking about. The Egyptians were polytheistic. They had hundreds of gods. There were gods of the land and of the sun, moon, and stars. There were gods who provided protection. There were even gods who represented daily activities. Families built altars in their houses to worship their favorite god. Egyptians believed that Ra, the sun god, created and ruled the world. During the Middle Kingdom, the priests of Thebes joined the god Amun to Ra. They called these gods, as they were joined together, Amun-Ra. They also told everyone how to worship. Having control over the worship system made the priests very powerful. Osiris, you see a picture of what was represented by the Egyptians as who Osiris was. The goddess of the god of the underworld was a favorite of the Egyptians. They believed that after burial, a dead person traveled by boat to the Hall of Judgment, where Osiris presided. Oh, excuse me, sorry. Anubis, the jackal-headed god, weighed the dead person's heart against the feather of truth. Not truth, but truth. Often, a papyrus copy of the Book of the Dead was buried with the person. This scroll provided instructions of what to do and say in the afterlife. The following translation is a portion of text from the book. It tells the person what to chant and declare his innocence during judgment. And I'm not going to read that because I read it yesterday, or in the video from yesterday accidentally. But let's go ahead on to the next page. Life in Thebes. It says the Egyptians practiced law and order. There were judges and tax collectors. Honor was important and valued. Now, that is I believe, a God-ingrained thing. Most people like things to be fair. Now, people sometimes like things to be more fair toward them, and I just noticed my glasses are crooked, but more fair toward them than they are for anybody else. But generally, people are satisfied with things if they're fair for each other and if they're justly judged. And so it says that it was expected that neighbors and their property be respected. Ancient hieroglyphs depict guards who defend public places and apprehend criminals. All right, we would expect the same thing in our society today. Citizenship, it says official documents reveal that both men and women were citizens. Most ancient Egyptians grew up, lived, and died in the area where they were born. And that used to be the case in a lot of the world. The United States has become much more mobile since the invention of the automobile, but especially since the improvement of the aircraft. Commercial airliners allow us to travel many places, even around the world, at ease. It really isn't too difficult to do that. Art, sciences, and written language. The hot, dry climate of Egypt preserved artifacts such as sculptures, paintings, official records, and religious documents. These artifacts allow historians to learn how Egyptians lived. Egyptians used physics to move massive blocks of stone for the pyramids. They used math to figure taxes, keep records, and develop plans for machines and buildings. And so they were doing what God had basically given them to do. And they were keeping control of the earth. The only thing they missed and forgot was God himself. And that was an issue for them. All right, job specialization. Most people, we're on page number 67 now. Most people were farmers who raised animals and crops. There were many craftsmen, such as carpenters and potters. There were also traders, doctors, scribes, and engineers. The Pharaoh determined the law and carried out justice. Sometimes Pharaoh would delegate responsibilities to a representative. Organized cities and government. Thebes was a political city where government officials lived and worked. The government created laws, taxed the citizens, constructed temples, oversaw trade, and defended Egypt's interests. Religion. The priests performed rituals in the temples of the god. They anointed the statues with oils and perfumes daily. The priests would clothe and paint the god. Offerings of food would be left for the statue. The environment. Egyptians used mud to make bricks, such as the ones that form the walls around Thebes. They used the minerals in their land for activities such as preserving and adding flavor to food, making medicine and tanning hides. They planted crops into fertile soil by the Nile. The Nile also provided a source of fish, waterfowl, and water. And then the key themes there talks about the top of civilization. You had justice, power, citizenship, and environment. Those are the key themes of civilization. Those four things were very important. Features of civilization: organized cities and government, job specialization, art, science, and written language, and religion. Those were the features that they emphasized. Now, on page number 68, and just looking at some things. Okay. All right. So page number 65 through 68, the Egyptian beliefs, so we're on 68 now. Ever since the fall, every culture has had to deal with death. The Egyptians believed that they would be judged on whether they lived according to justice and order that the gods had put into the world. So that would be what we would call a works-based salvation. Now, we can't do enough good, and that is a common theme that most people, whether they're religious or not, most religions, though, teach that if you are more good than you are bad, then you will end up in heaven. It's weighing in the balance. But we know there's only one answer to our sin, and that's Jesus Christ. If their works were good enough, they would spend the afterlife in a place of peace. Their burial practices were based on the belief that preservation of the deceased body would preserve that person's soul in the afterlife. Excuse me, but they did not believe that the body would ever live again. And so the idea that people's souls would continue to live after death and the idea that people will face judgment for how they lived are true ideas. The Bible says it's appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment. Hebrews 9:26, that was from Hebrews 9:27, and also in Revelation 20:12, because that talks about the judgment that actually does happen. But the Bible teaches that no one will be declared righteous before God on the basis of their works. No human works meet God's perfect standard of justice. And then so you show a stele showing Akhenaten and his family giving an offering to Aten, the sun god. And you notice that Aten was part of their name. And a lot of people would do that. They would include God's name as part of their name. Back to the ending here of 68. The Egyptians taught that Isis, the wife of Osiris, protected children. Horus, the son of Isis and Osiris, had the body of a man and the head of a falcon or a hawk. These three gods formed the model family that Egyptians tried to imitate. There were also gods of medicine, education, music, and even love. Hathor, the goddess of love, the goddess of love, joy, and fertility, was sometimes depicted with the body of a woman and the head of a cow. The Egyptians believed that the pharaoh was the son of Horus. They believed the pharaoh was a god and the high priest of Egypt. Every morning after washing and dressing, the pharaoh went to the temple to awaken the idol of Horus. He washed and clothed the idol, gave it food, and put makeup on it. After that ceremony, the people believed the day could proceed with the god's blessing. One pharaoh of the New Kingdom tried to change the Egyptian beliefs. His name was Amenhotep IV. He believed that there was only one great god, called Aten. The pharaoh even changed his own name to Akhenaten to show that he worshipped the god Aten. The priests of the old gods did not like losing their influence. The Egyptian people did not want to give up the old gods either. After Akhenaten's death, young Tutankhamun and his advisors returned Egypt to the old religion. Ancient Egypt was a great civilization for many centuries, but its greatness did not last forever. This greatness was also marred by false religion and injustice. In the Exodus of the Hebrews, God showed himself, triumphant over the gods of Egypt. Later, God allowed Egypt to fall to several other peoples, including the Cushites, the Assyrians, the Persians, the Greeks, and the Romans. Egypt was proud of its achievements, but it gave no glory to God for what it achieved. Ezekiel 29:3-4 says that Egypt fell because God judged it for its pride. But one day God will show mercy to Egypt. In Isaiah 19:21 and 22, the prophet tells of a time when Egypt will turn to the Lord and he will heal them. All right, and so that is your reading for today and your assignment there. Make sure you are doing that. And again, as I said, we may have already done part of this, especially on page 49. We'll see what comes up there, though. All right, and so that's it, and we'll see you tomorrow. Secret word, and I forgot. Wow, secret word for science. I should have put in there. For science, we'll make the secret word water. So if you're watching this one, which you should be watching this one, water is for science, and then for the history, it'll be the word stele, S-T-E-L-E. That picture of one that's on page number 68 reminded me of that word, and so we'll use that. All right, that's it. Have a good day. Bye.